Good morning, Oracles. Oracle Tim here. So yesterday we had an amazing day, up 5.6%. And this morning pre-market at the time of this recording, we're down about 0.5%. I'm not too concerned. Over the last week, we've really been pushing over that 70 RSI threshold. And every time we did, we ended up pulling back a little bit. So I actually would not be surprised if today we pulled back a little bit, maybe even a little bit more tomorrow, leading into the Cyber Rodeo on Thursday, to then see another further pop ahead of that. So today we're going to discuss the catalysts, positive and potentially negative catalysts, that we can see going from now through the end of August. And some of the dates that I have in here are just estimates because we do not know for sure some of them. So I'm just kind of throwing out some estimated dates as far as that goes for any catalyst that we have going forward. So let's get started. So the first catalyst we have, obviously we know we have the Cyber Rodeo coming up on Thursday, April 7th. So the great thing about this is we're going to have it, we don't actually have an official opening day for Austin. Maybe it's going to be that day, maybe it's the day after. But if you look back to what we saw in Giga Berlin when that opened, Elon gave a lot of great insight as far as what's going on in the future and what we can expect out of Berlin. So I can expect the same to be coming out of Austin. And it's called the Cyber Rodeo, so I have a feeling we are going to get many more details on the Cybertruck as well coming out of the event. And I feel like the Cyber Rodeo is going to be a great positive catalyst that will drive the stock higher by the end of the week. Then we go into next week, and next week we have the CPI data for March. That comes out on April 12th. So that there could go one way or the other. We are expecting it to definitely be high due to the fact that oil prices went up with the Russia-Ukraine war situation. So that could pull the entire market down. Again, this is not fundamentally any reasons why the stock would come down. It's macro environment news, which to me, anytime the macro environment comes down is a good buying opportunity for Tesla because it's not anything that has to do with the fundamentals of the company. So if it does come down, that'd be a great buying opportunity. I'm really not sure if we're going to get that same, nor will we get like maybe a little bit of a sell-off leading up to it because it's uncertainty. And as we all know, the market does not like uncertainty. So we could see a little bit of a sell-off going into that, which is fine because if our RSI is as high it is now, even if it does come below 70 before the Cyber Rodeo, I have a feeling it's going to go significantly higher than 70 after the Cyber Rodeo. Side note on RSI, just because the RSI, Relative Strength Index, is over 70 does not mean that it has to sell off. It's just an indicator saying that it's overbought and there's a good chance that it will sell off. And now after the CPI on the 12th, we will have on April 20th, 4/20, we are going to get the Q1 earnings report. Q1 earnings report, we now know what we have for production and deliveries. Those can be tweaked a little bit going into the Q1 earnings, but usually doesn't change a lot. And we are expecting high gross vehicle margins. I think due to the factory ramps that are going on, if we are looking at anything over 25%, that's going to be outstanding. And anything over 30%, we are going to take off to the moon again. Now, following this, I have a feeling we are going to get the credit rating upgrade from the S&P to investor grade that we have all been waiting for. And that could potentially open up the floodgates for the stock to take off, seeing as many institutions do not invest in the stock unless it is investor grade. So if we get that, that could be a great opening for a lot of institutions to get in. That's a lot of big money that could push the stock much higher. And around the same time we could potentially get that, I think either late April or early May, we are going to get the PROXY. And in the PROXY, that's going to announce the annual meeting date, which is where all of us as shareholders will be able to vote on issuing more shares to institute a stock split. I think we may end up getting some details about the stock split, maybe the date, or at least, is it going to be a 10-to-1, 20-to-1, 5-to-1, whatever it's going to be. We should be getting that information late April, early May. And now right around that time as well, we are expecting the FOMC meeting in May, which is going to be the 3rd and the 4th. So the 4th, we will end up getting the news from Jerome Powell as to the Fed's decision. Is it going to be a 25 basis point rate hike? Is it going to be a 50 basis point rate hike? So that could also lead to some uncertainty and a potential sell-off. This, for me, was where I thought the second sell-off is going to come. Whether we go as far down as we did previously or not is yet to be seen. I don't know. This is just my anticipation of a second sell-off, and I think this might be the moment where we could hit a second bottom. Where the bottom is, we don't know, but I have a feeling this is going to be another great buying opportunity because I do see a rally potentially coming through the summer, and you'll see with the other catalysts that I've got coming out. And in the first week of May, we should be getting the April delivery numbers coming out of Shanghai. So that'll give us a good indication as to, the shutdowns that we've had going on due to COVID, and that'll help us know, where are we looking at for deliveries and ramp rate going forward with Shanghai. And then on May 11th, we will get the CPI data for April, which again, we are assuming is going to be high since oil prices have been up. Now, gas prices I've noticed have been coming down a little bit, but still, we are still going to be looking at high inflation in May for April. So that could be another negative catalyst, but with the FOMC meeting happening the week prior to that, that number there could be like all right, so the Fed has done this move, and now the CPI data in relation to that, I think is what's going to determine how the market moves off of that data. And the next catalyst I see is the Amazon split on June 6th. Now, I don't know if at this point with the PROXY, we're going to have a split date for Tesla, but knowing that that's going to be the first split of a major mega cap company this year, that's going to be a great, great euphoria and positive sentiment in the market itself. So I think because that's going to be a good macro catalyst, that could in turn help Tesla really start that run up. Because again, if I'm anticipating a second bottom sometime in early to mid-May, when we get to that point, that could be on a nice uphill trend that is going to take us through the summer. And then right around that same time, we should be getting the Shanghai delivery numbers for May. That can influence the stock again, moving it further higher just because, we're seeing the ramp rate and that's important. And I'm actually hoping, I don't know if we're going to get it, but I would love to see if we can get those same type of numbers out of Berlin and Austin, because then we can really compare the ramp rates to all of them to see who is growing faster, and then we can compare Berlin and Austin to where Shanghai was when they first ramped, which will give us a great indicator as to where we think Berlin and Austin will be in a year from now. And then on June 10th, we will get the CPI data for May. This might actually be an inflection point where we start to come down. At this point, we will have had interest rates going up a little bit. We will have the gas and oil prices hopefully coming down, perhaps the Russia-Ukraine war starting to simmer down a little bit. So we might actually at this point start to see that crest and start to see an indication that inflation is starting to wane. Now, that's year-over-year data. Month-over-month is the very important data you want to pay attention to because that can still show an increase. So we want to see both year-over-year and month-over-month data for May start to maybe show either a flattening or a decline. Now, 4 to 5 days after that, we are going to get the next FOMC meeting in June, which could also potentially be another rate hike. So they did say that they're most likely going to do a 25 basis point rate hike with every meeting going forward. So, if they do a 50 basis point rate hike in May, chances are they're only going to do a 25 basis point hike in June. Again, lots of different things to happen between now and then, but that will be another catalyst that could potentially bring the stocks down a little bit. So while I do think we're going to be on an uphill trend, that moment right there might just be a little hiccup, maybe a little bit of sell-off, and then we can continue our run up. And then in late June, I am anticipating Elon is going to put out Master Plan Part 3. It may come out sooner than that, I don't know. But I think Master Plan Part 3 will be coming out around then, which will then kind of encompass everything that's been going on. His purchase of Twitter, what's going on with the whole entire market, what their plans are for the future, and really take all the information that we have been given over the last 6 months to a year and put it all into one great, straightforward idea of, all right, all these different things that Elon has said and all the things that Tesla has planned, this is the direction that it is taking us. Then on July 2nd, we are going to get production and delivery numbers for Q2, which could be another amazing catalyst to continue driving us forward. Because Q2 is going to be, basically the new era of Tesla. We have 2 factories now ramping at this point. So we're going to have 4 total factories ramping to really drive our production up. And that's going to be a huge catalyst to see, all right, how are we ramping between Berlin and Austin? And again, I would love to see that breakdown. Whether we get it or not, I don't know. But then we can really see, how the company is going to ramp for the next year with 4 factories. And then on July 13th, we have the CPI data for June, which at that point, I don't know if it's actually going to make a huge difference because again, if we're seeing the inflection down, I think we're going to be in kind of a similar to where we are right now with the sentiment in the market being positive. I think we're going to be in the same kind of place at that point. So CPI is going to come down and kind of be like nothing really important going on, because then shortly after we get that CPI data that comes out, we've got the Google split. That's going to be happening on July 15th. Now that one there, I'm kind of torn because it's shareholders as of July 1st are going to get the split on the 15th. So the 1st may actually be a more important date. But just like Amazon, I think it's going to be good for the macro environment. During the split, we're going to have a lot of euphoria because it's like 1 month split, another month later. And then I think we're going to see the Tesla split in August. So it's like 3 months in a row, mega cap splits. So I think we're going to see a lot of euphoria going through the summer. And then on July 20th, and I don't know, we don't have a specific date. We'll most likely be getting that at the PROXY, but we'll see the earnings report for Q2. And so a week after that, we get the FOMC meeting. So if the earnings get pushed off to the week after, it's going to end up being very similar to what we saw in January. We've got the FOMC meeting and we've got the Q2 earnings report on like the same day. Again, I don't know. These are just estimated dates that I'm thinking we'll see them. But still, the Q2 earnings is going to be huge because, again, that's where we get the Berlin and Austin production built into what is going on in Q2 earnings. And that'll be the first time we have an earnings report that truly has these 2 factories built into it. So that's going to be a huge indicator as to how we can see the rest of the year play out. And even if we get the FOMC meeting going on at the same time, I don't know if it's really going to matter all that much. Again, I think the May FOMC meeting is going to be more significant. And unless, inflation runs away from them, which I don't think it's going to happen, but unless it does, I don't think there's going to be much of a big deal going on with the FOMC meeting. Again, maybe a little bit of a selling off at the moment, but I think it's more going to be a selling off because the market's going to be running very hot at that time. And then for August right now is not a lot going on my radar. We're going to have the Shanghai deliveries coming out the first week. We will have CPI data coming out on August 10th. And then I am anticipating the split happening very similar date-wise to when they split last time. So it should be in late August that we see this split happening for Tesla. Again, when the proxy comes out, they may give us a date and it may be sooner. Who knows? So we'll find all that information out. But these are just my guesstimate dates as to what's going to be for catalysts for the next 3 to 4 months. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other catalysts you see that are out there for the next 4 months or so through the end of August. Let me know if there's anything I missed. Other things that are on the radar that aren't specific date catalysts that I can see. The COVID lockdowns that we have going on in Shanghai. As of right now, it seems like Shanghai might actually be closed for potentially the rest of the week. That's a negative catalyst, which we do not have a date attached to. Obviously ramps that are going on in Berlin and Austin, if they've got a bunch of hiccups that are going on, could be negative catalysts as well. So maybe a 4680 battery catalyst could be good one way or another. But again, this is information we might find out at the Cyber Rodeo, might find out at some random time. Lots of little different things going on as far as could potentially be negative catalysts, just no specific dates on them. But again, let me know in the comments below if there's any other catalysts you can see out there. And then obviously there's also, macro environment negative catalysts that could be black swan events. Russia actually gets worse than it is. China decides that they want Taiwan. There are some macro environment things that could bring everything down, but I don't put those on the radar as just because it's a black swan thing. It's a potential, but not there. It's just something I pay attention to. So something that you guys should have on the back of your mind as well, just as a potential possibility. But again, there's no specific dates. So that's where I have this playing out for the next 4 months with a run up through the summer. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. Thank you so much. Have a great one.